You know what's really scary? Not just growing older, but the thought that one day you might be sitting at home alone, maybe watching TV, maybe folding laundry, maybe just sipping tea, and all of a sudden, your chest tightens, your arm goes numb, and you realize this might be it, a heart attack, and there's no one around to help. Now, if you're over 60, that thought isn't just paranoia, it's a reality for many seniors, because most heart attacks don't come with a warning. They come fast, they come hard, and if you're alone, the clock starts ticking. You only have a few minutes to act before things get much worse, and that's exactly why this video is so important. Because today, we're talking about how to survive a heart attack alone after 60, and not just theoretically, but 7 real practical steps that could mean the difference between life and death. I want you to listen closely. I want you to picture yourself in each moment, because the truth is, knowing what to do ahead of time is the best chance you'll ever have at surviving something this serious. No fluff, no hype, just real talk, real steps, and real solutions that could save your life or someone you love. All right, let's get into it. So let's start with the reality. Most heart attacks strike without warning, but they often come with signals that people overlook, as especially older adults. Maybe you feel a little dizzy. Maybe your breathing feels off. Maybe you suddenly feel like you're carrying a backpack full of bricks on your chest and you think, oh, it's just indigestion. Or maybe I overexerted myself this morning. But those first few seconds matter, and if you're home alone, your awareness is your first weapon. So what do you do? What are the steps? How can you act fast and smart to keep yourself alive long enough for help to arrive? These next 7 tips are simple, but absolutely critical. So let's start with number 1. Tip 1, recognize the signs immediately. Now look, I know this sounds obvious, but you'd be surprised how many people ignore the early signs, especially when they're alone. Denial is powerful. Maybe you think, well, I'm tired. Maybe I didn't eat well. Maybe it's anxiety. But your body knows. You just have to listen. So here's what to watch for. Pressure, squeezing or pain in the center of your chest that lasts more than a few minutes or goes away and comes back. Pain or discomfort in one or both arms, your back, neck, jaw, or stomach. Shortness of breath with or without chest discomfort. Breaking out in a cold sweat, nausea, or lightheadedness. Now for women especially, the symptoms can be a bit different. Sometimes it's more subtle, maybe extreme fatigue, or pain in the back or jaw. And here's the key. When in doubt, assume it's a heart attack. Better to act and be wrong than ignore it and pay the price. And for folks over 60, the symptoms might come on slower or feel less intense, especially if you have diabetes or nerve issues. So don't wait for dramatic Hollywood-style chest clutching. The earlier you recognize what's happening, the faster you can respond. And that response, that next move, could save your life. Let me tell you a quick story. There was a man named Ray, 68 years old, lived by himself in Arizona, retired school teacher, healthy for his age. But one day while watering his backyard plants, he felt this odd tightness in his chest. Not pain exactly, just pressure. And he thought, maybe I twisted something, or I'm just dehydrated. So he went inside, drank some water, sat on the couch, and waited. But it got worse, and then he started to sweat. Not just regular sweat, cold sweat. That's when it hit him. This might be a heart attack, and thankfully Ray had seen a video like this one. He remembered what to do, and those steps saved him. We'll get into them in a minute. But the reason he survived was because he recognized the signs. He didn't try to be tough. He didn't brush it off. He respected the symptoms and he acted. And you need to do the same. So here's what I want you to do right now. Pause this video and memorize those symptoms, or write them down. Put them on your fridge, your nightstand, your phone, wherever you can glance at them quickly. Because when a heart attack hits, your brain might be foggy, your body might be shaking. You don't want to have to Google symptoms. You need to know them cold. And this first step is the foundation. Without it, nothing else matters. Once you've accepted that it's a heart attack, that's when the real survival process begins. So let's keep moving. All right, that brings us to tip number 2. And this one is just as crucial. It's about what you do in those first seconds after realizing what's happening and how you prepare your body to survive long enough for help to get to you. Stay with me here, because this next step might sound simple, but it has saved countless lives when done right. Let's talk about it. Tip 2. Stay calm and sit down immediately. Now, I know staying calm during a heart attack sounds nearly impossible, but I'm going to tell you why this matters more than almost anything else. When you panic, your heart rate skyrockets, your blood pressure shoots up, and your oxygen levels drop, all of which makes your heart work harder when it's already under attack. And if you're moving around, pacing, trying to grab things, or looking for your phone in a frenzy, you're only making things worse. So the very first action after recognizing the signs is to sit down. Not lie down flat, but gently sit, preferably on the floor with your back supported by a wall or against a couch. If you pass out, this position will keep you safer from falling or hitting your head, and it also reduces the strain on your heart and keeps blood circulating more evenly. Now take slow, deep breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth, even if your chest is tight. Keep your breathing steady. This slows your system and keeps oxygen flowing to your brain and heart. You're not trying to fight the heart attack off like a superhero. You're trying to give your body the best conditions possible to survive it. Think about it this way. Your heart is like an engine that's overheating, and the worst thing you can do is hit the gas. So sitting down, breathing slow, and staying calm is like taking your foot off the pedal, letting the engine cool just enough to keep running until help arrives. And let's not forget, fear itself can mimic or amplify heart attack symptoms. If your anxiety spikes, you'll feel even more chest tightness, dizziness, nausea, all of which can make things spiral. So staying mentally calm can reduce the overall severity of your episode. And look, I'm not saying it's easy, I'm saying it's essential. One woman I know, Judith, she's 72, had her first heart attack at home while watching a baking show. She felt her chest tighten. Her arms started to tingle, and instead of freaking out, she did exactly what we're talking about. She turned off the stove, sat down on the kitchen floor, leaned against a cabinet, closed her eyes, and focused on staying calm. When EMTs arrived 10 minutes later, they told her those calm actions gave her a better chance of surviving with less damage. This stuff is real and it works. So take a second right now to look around your home. Where would you sit if you were in the bathroom, the kitchen, the garage, your backyard? Plan it ahead of time, because if a heart attack hits, you won't be thinking clearly, and every second counts. Practice sitting in a supported position. Feel how your body relaxes when you're not fighting gravity. This preparation might feel silly, but it could save your life. And that brings us to the next step. Now that you're calm and grounded, what do you do next? Tip 3. Call emergency services without delay. This is the moment where pride, fear, or hesitation kills people. Do not, and I repeat, do not try to drive yourself to the hospital. Don't try to call a friend. Don't wait it out to see if the pain goes away. Call 911 immediately. Put your phone on speaker, set it near you, and talk as clearly as you can. Say the words, "I think I'm having a heart attack, I'm alone, and I need help." Give them your exact address, and don't hang up unless they tell you to. If you're using a mobile phone, make sure your address is saved or visible. Even better, create a contact in your phone called Emergency with your name, age, medical conditions, medications, and home address in the notes. This way, if you can't speak or you pass out, responders can get the info fast. Here's another thing most people don't realize. When you call 911, even if you can't say a word, the call itself pings your location, and many dispatchers are trained to detect signs of distress just from your breathing or background noise. So never think you have to give a long explanation. Just make the call and keep the line open. Now let's say you live in a rural area or somewhere with patchy cell service. You should have a landline or emergency medical alert system and keep it close to the places you spend most of your day. One man, Dennis, 75, had a heart attack in his workshop, and luckily he had a landline mounted to the wall near his workbench. He couldn't walk to the house, but he crawled just enough to reach that phone, called 911, and they got to him in time because he had planned for it. That call is the most important connection you can make in that moment. And here's something else. If you live alone and you're over 60, get in the habit of keeping your phone on you. I know it's tempting to leave it in another room, but if you can't move and the phone's across the house, it might as well be on Mars. Use a lanyard or a wearable pouch, or just build the habit of keeping it in a pocket. Because when every second counts, you don't want to be crawling to the next room while your heart struggles to keep going. And don't wait until you feel like you're dying to make that call. The sooner you get help on the way, the better your chances are. And if you collapse before they arrive, they'll already be en route, and that could save your life. Now that you've made the call and you're calm, seated, and waiting for help, your next step could make all the difference in how much damage your heart takes, and in some cases, whether or not your heart even keeps beating. So let's move on to tip number 4, and this one's all about what you can do physically to keep oxygen and blood moving just enough to buy yourself more time. Tip 4, start coughing and take deep breaths. Now this next one may sound strange at first, but I need you to listen closely because it's backed by emergency response techniques used in certain situations. It's called cough CPR, and while it's not a substitute for proper medical CPR, it can be used as a temporary self-rescue tool when you're alone and feel your consciousness slipping. This is only in those precious moments when you feel faint or lightheaded, and you don't know if help is going to reach you before you pass out. The idea is this: you take a deep breath in, hold it for a second, then give a deep, forceful cough from your diaphragm, like you're trying to clear your lungs, not just a throat-clearing cough, but a deep chest cough. Then breathe in again and repeat about once every 2 seconds. What this does is help keep blood circulating and can momentarily stabilize your heart rhythm if it's going into something dangerous like ventricular fibrillation. It's not a cure, it's not going to stop a heart attack, but it can help you remain conscious a little longer until help arrives. Again, only do this if you're beginning to feel faint or like you're going to lose consciousness. Do not rely on this instead of calling 911. It's a supplemental action, not a replacement. This technique has been used in hospital settings under guided conditions, and some emergency responders teach it as a survival measure when someone is completely alone with no one else to assist. Let's break it down even simpler. If you're alone, having chest pain, maybe shortness of breath, and you're worried that you're fading, start a rhythm. Deep breath in through the nose. Hold, then cough hard, like you're blowing out a birthday candle with your lungs, and do that every few seconds. Try to keep your focus on that pattern. This also keeps you mentally grounded, gives your mind something to hold on to rather than spiraling into panic. One woman named Dolores, 69, had a massive coronary event at home, and after calling 911, she felt herself getting dizzy. She sat down, leaned against her couch, and started doing this cough-breath rhythm while waiting, and it kept her alert enough to answer the door when paramedics arrived. Now I know the science around this technique is debated, and it won't work for every kind of heart issue. But here's the truth. When you're alone and time is ticking, anything that safely keeps you alert and breathing is worth trying, especially if you've already done all the right steps. You've sat down, stayed calm, called for help. Now you're doing something with your body to push back just a little against the fading. Even just 1 extra minute of consciousness can be the difference between life and death. Because when you're unconscious, you can't guide EMTs, you can't explain your condition, and that delay costs lives. So don't dismiss it, learn how to do it properly, and practice it a few times when you're feeling well. Make it second nature, like a fire drill for your heart. Also, while you're coughing and breathing, loosen any tight clothing, unbutton a collar, loosen your belt, anything that might restrict breathing or blood flow. Open a window if it's close by. Fresh air may help, even if only slightly, and mentally prepare yourself for the sounds of sirens or a knock at the door. Keep your ears open for help arriving, because the goal here is to survive long enough for trained professionals to take over. You're holding the line, so to speak. You're not giving up. You're giving your body a fighting chance to keep pushing oxygen through your system, to keep your heart rhythm just stable enough to hang on. Now let's move into tip number 5, and this one's extremely practical. It's about something you can do right now, today, before any heart attack ever happens. Because the truth is, when that moment comes, what you've prepared in advance will be the key to surviving it. Tip 5, create an emergency heart attack kit. This isn't something most people think about, but having a dedicated emergency heart attack kit could save your life. You want to have it in an easy-to-reach place, not locked in a cabinet or buried in the back of a drawer, and it should be in the places where you spend the most time, by your bedside, near your favorite chair, in your kitchen, or in your car. And let's talk about what goes in it. First, a small bottle of aspirin, ideally chewable low-dose aspirin. Because if you're not allergic and a doctor has approved it for you, chewing one during a heart attack can reduce blood clotting and increase your chances of survival. Make sure the bottle is clearly labeled, not expired, and stored in a way that's easy to open. Second, a list of your medications, your allergies, your medical conditions, and your emergency contacts, including the name of your primary care doctor or cardiologist if you have one. Print it out, laminate it, and include your name, address, and date of birth. Because if you're unconscious when help arrives, that little sheet of paper can tell responders everything they need to know to treat you quickly and correctly. Include a note at the top that says heart patient or high risk, if that applies to you. Next, let's keep building that emergency kit because there are still a few more crucial things you'll want to include before we move on to tip number 6. Now, in addition to aspirin and your medical info, your emergency heart attack kit should also include a charged cell phone if possible, even an old prepaid phone with 911 access, stored nearby or attached to the kit in case your main phone is out of reach or dead. Make sure it's stored in a way that's visible and easy to grab, because when you're in distress, fumbling through drawers or walking to the next room isn't just inconvenient, it's dangerous. Even a few feet could be too far. Also consider a small flashlight or headlamp if you're home alone at night and the power goes out, or you're in a place without enough light. It's a detail people overlook until they need it. Another important item to add is a laminated card with simple written instructions for what to do during a heart attack. Written in large print, something like, sit down, stay calm, chew aspirin, call 911, unlock the door. That card isn't just for you, it's for anyone who might find you. It's a safety net, a checklist, a reminder. Because when fear hits, our memory can fail us, and reading something direct and focused can bring clarity in a chaotic moment. Also consider a whistle or emergency alert device, especially if you live alone. Even a personal alarm you can activate by pressing a button. Not all heart attacks render you speechless, but some do, and having a way to make noise can alert neighbors or passersby. And one more thing, keep this kit where you can actually use it, not tucked behind furniture or locked up with other medical supplies. Visibility and accessibility are everything. Maybe place it on a nightstand, a table beside your recliner, or mount a small wall pouch with a Red Cross symbol where you can reach it easily, label it clearly, tell your family and friends where it is, especially if they come over often or stay with you, and update it regularly. Check the aspirin expiration dates. Make sure your medical info is current if your prescriptions change, or you develop a new allergy, update the sheet. This kit isn't just about being prepared. It's about making life-saving decisions ahead of time, before panic takes over. There's a peace of mind that comes from knowing you've done everything you can to prepare for an emergency. And that confidence alone can help keep your stress levels lower, which we all know benefits heart health in general. So don't wait until after your first scare to build this kit. Make it part of your routine right now and tell a loved one about it, someone who can remind you to check it every few months. Now with this kit in place and your body trained on what to do, let's move to tip number 6, which is all about awareness and using your senses to help the professionals help you. Tip 6, unlock the door and signal for help. This one's often forgotten, and it can make all the difference when emergency responders arrive. If you're alone and you've called 911, the next immediate thing to do is unlock your door. Whether it's a front door, apartment door, or even a gate if you're in a private community. Leave it open if you can, or at least make sure it's not double locked, because when paramedics arrive, every second counts, and if they have to break in, that's valuable time wasted. So after you call, make your way to the front if possible and unlock it before sitting or lying down. Now, some folks might be worried about safety. Maybe you live in a neighborhood where you keep things locked for a reason, but remember, you're not leaving it open all night. You're unlocking it for paramedics, and you can even call out to them when you hear sirens or someone knocking. Also, consider putting a spare key in a lockbox outside your door, like the ones realtors use, and give the code to your local EMS service or trusted neighbors. That way, if you're ever unconscious, they have a way in without breaking anything. This is especially important for folks in senior living communities or remote houses, And what if you live in an apartment building with a buzzer or entry code? That's when you keep that info posted right by your phone, or even give it to the dispatcher during the 911 call. Say something like, "I'm in Unit 3B, buzzer code is 421. Don't assume they'll figure it out. Time is too precious if you're unable to speak and you're using a medical alert system or smart device to call for help. Many of them can transmit your location and access instructions. But again, the key is setting it up in advance and practicing how to use it. Don't rely on tech you haven't tested. And if you can't make it to the door or can't speak, this is where a visual signal can help. Keep a red towel, bright cloth, or even a small sign you can place in a window or on a doorknob that says emergency. If paramedics drive by, that signal can tell them exactly where to go. Or it may alert neighbors to check on you if you live in a retirement village or shared housing. This kind of signal can save precious time. There's one man named Hank who had a heart scare and couldn't speak once he called for help. But his neighbor saw the red flag he'd placed in the window and came over with a spare key. The ambulance was already on its way, but Hank's early signal shaved off at least 2 minutes, and those 2 minutes mattered. So always think a step ahead, prepare your home like it's part of your heart defense system, unlock what you can, signal when you must, and never assume they'll figure it out on their own, because surviving a heart attack alone means being your own first responder. And the way you set up your environment could be what tips the scale in your favor when seconds really count. All right, now let's move into our final and probably most empowering tip in this entire list. One that doesn't require fancy gadgets or years of training, but can drastically improve your odds of survival and recovery. I'm talking about the power of knowledge, the power of recognizing your own body signals, and knowing how to respond without hesitation. This brings us to tip number 7, and I want you to really let this one sink in, because it could apply not just to you, but to your spouse, your siblings, or even a friend sitting across the dinner table. Tip 7, learn the warning signs and trust them. Look, the truth is heart attacks don't always start like in the movies, with a sudden clutching of the chest and a dramatic collapse. In real life, especially for people over 60, the signs can be far more subtle and sneaky. They can show up slowly over hours or even days. And if you're not paying attention, you might shrug them off as indigestion or fatigue. The most common symptom for both men and women is chest discomfort. It may feel like pressure, squeezing, fullness, or pain. It might come and go or stay steady, but it's not always in the center of your chest. You might feel discomfort in other areas too, like your arms, especially the left one, but sometimes both. Or it could be in your neck, jaw, back, or stomach. Some folks feel short of breath even without chest pain. Others break out in a cold sweat or get lightheaded and nauseous. And for women, the symptoms can be even more unusual. They might feel unexplained fatigue or sleep disturbances days before. So here's the golden rule. If something doesn't feel right and it's sudden or severe, or it just feels off in your gut, treat it seriously. Don't wait around to see if it goes away after a nap or after taking an antacid. A woman named Carla who survived a heart attack at 67 said it best. She felt this strange tightness in her chest one morning while gardening. It wasn't painful exactly, but it felt wrong. Then her jaw started to ache and she broke into a sweat, though it wasn't hot out. Now Carla almost dismissed it as dehydration or anxiety, but something in her told her to stop and call her daughter, who called 911. Turned out she was having a major heart attack, and the doctors said if she'd waited another hour, it might have been too late. Her story's not rare, and it shows how critical it is to listen to your body when it whispers before it screams. So how do you train yourself to recognize these signs? First, make a list of them and post them somewhere visible. On your fridge, by your mirror, inside your medicine cabinet. Second, talk to your doctor about your personal risk factors. If you've got high blood pressure, diabetes, or a family history of heart disease, your symptoms might look different. Your doctor might even recommend you carry a nitroglycerin tablet in case of chest pain, or wear a heart monitor temporarily to catch irregular rhythms. But more than anything, you need to mentally rehearse what to do when those signs show up. Just like fire drills in school, you need a plan for heart emergencies. And that plan includes not second-guessing yourself. Don't sit on the edge of your bed wondering if it's serious enough to call 911. If you have to ask, it probably is. Worst case scenario, the paramedics say it's not a heart attack and you go back to your day with peace of mind. Best case scenario, you catch it early enough to stop major damage or even save your life. And don't worry about feeling embarrassed or like you're making a fuss. Your life is worth a fuss, and the sooner you get help, the more treatment options you have. Early intervention saves heart muscle, saves recovery time, and saves your chance to live your life fully. Now, teaching yourself to trust these signs also means talking about them with your loved ones, especially if they live with you or check in on you regularly. If your daughter knows that chest tightness or sudden back pain could be serious, she'll respond faster too. Same with friends or neighbors who may be with you at the grocery store or church or on a walk. The more people who know the signs, the more eyes and ears are ready to jump into action. If something seems off, it's not about living in fear, it's about living prepared and feeling supported. So let's recap this final tip. Learn the signs, post them where you'll see them, talk to your doctor, rehearse your plan, and most importantly, trust your instincts. Heart attacks can look different from person to person, but one thing is always true: fast action makes the difference. It's not about being a medical expert, it's about being a survivor, and every second you save by listening to your body instead of ignoring it is a second you win in the fight for your life. All right, now we've covered 7 powerful life-saving tips that can make all the difference if you ever find yourself alone during a heart attack after 60. But before we wrap up, I want to remind you that knowledge combined with preparation is your best defense. Every tip we talked about today builds on that idea. From recognizing symptoms early, calling 911 right away, using aspirin, to making sure you can unlock your door for paramedics and even practicing CPR if you're able. These are simple steps you can take right now that could save your life or someone else's. But it's not just about reacting when a heart attack strikes. It's also about living in a way that lowers your risk to begin with. Staying active, managing stress, eating a heart-healthy diet, staying on top of your blood pressure and cholesterol. All these things help keep your heart strong and reduce the chances you'll need to survive a heart attack alone. But of course, even the healthiest people can face emergencies. That's why having a plan is crucial, so you don't freeze or panic in those crucial moments. Now, if you want to take this further, talk to your doctor about heart health screenings and possibly wearing a medical alert device if you live alone or have a history of heart issues. These devices can automatically call for help if you fall or have abnormal heart rhythms. And while they're not foolproof, they add an extra layer of protection. Also consider sharing your emergency plan with family and friends. Maybe even go through a mock drill where you practice what you do in a heart emergency. The more you practice, the calmer you'll be when it really counts. And if you live with someone who's over 60 or have elderly parents or relatives, don't hesitate to have these conversations with them too. It can feel awkward to talk about heart attacks, but it's honestly one of the most loving things you can do. Giving someone the tools and confidence to survive alone means giving them a better shot at a longer life, a better quality of life, and peace of mind for everyone involved. Heart disease is the #1 killer in the US, but it doesn't have to be a death sentence if you act fast and smart. Before I finish, I want to leave you with a quick story that sums up why these tips matter so much. A man named Harold was 72 when he felt a tightness in his chest while watching TV alone. He remembered hearing about the importance of calling 911 and didn't hesitate. He chewed aspirin, unlocked his door for the paramedics, and even managed to do some deep breathing to keep calm. He was rushed to the hospital and treated quickly. Harold's recovery was smooth, and he credits his survival to those simple actions. He now shares his story to encourage others to prepare and stay aware. So friends, the takeaway here is clear. Heart attacks after 60 can be scary, especially when you're alone, but you are not powerless. These 7 life-saving tips give you the tools to act quickly and confidently. Survival depends on speed, awareness, and preparation. Take the time today to learn the signs, set up your emergency plan, talk to your doctor, and share this knowledge with your loved ones. It could literally save a life, maybe even your own. Thanks for sticking with me through this important discussion. If you found this video helpful, please consider sharing it with someone who could benefit. Subscribe for more health and safety tips. And remember, your heart matters. Take care of it, listen to it, and don't wait to act. I'm wishing you health, strength, and peace of mind every day. See you next time.